Boston College is truthfully just one of the X factors in regards of the ACC as a whole. Not that they're necessarily going to be competing for the top end of the ACC, or really, I mean, nobody truthfully cares too much about the bottom end, but they do have a very wide variance in there. Last couple years, it was pretty set that they're going to finish towards the bottom, and we'll get there in a minute. But Luke Murray comes in, and there's a lot of energy, I think, behind this team, and I'm definitely excited for what Boston College could potentially produce this year. So go ahead, break down into it. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. We're going to break down every single college basketball team as much as I can. I might not get to all of them, but I'm going to go in depth on as many basketball teams as I can as we're getting closer and closer to the start of college basketball season. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Or if you want an abbreviated version, check out the TikTok. Same title. But let's go ahead and break down this Boston College team. Starting off, I'm going to start with this projected starting five. And this is my projection. This is not confirmed. This is not anything to that extent. But this is just who I believe will be starting, maybe even should be starting. There is some question marks. Like Boston College, out of a lot of the ACC ones I've looked at already, is a bit more up in the air on a couple positions. But we're starting off with the point guard, with their money man, Money Williams. Transfer from Montana. He's going to be a senior. Last year at Montana, averaged 20.6 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists per game. On pretty good efficiency, 49% from the field, 34% from three, and 85% from the free throw line. He did shoot a lot and have the ball a lot at Montana, led the Big Sky in usage percentage at 34.2%. But still, shooting 61.6% true shooting, pretty dang good. Did get up 13 shots, 4 of which were threes. So not the heaviest dosage, especially for a point guard in the 2020s, but definitely is their big money guy. That is, and we'll break this down in just a second, who they are expecting to lead this offense is Money Williams, for sure. At their two guard, I could see this being one or two players, other than the one I'm about to mention. I think it's going to be Armani Ziegler, the transfer from Ball State. Last year averaged 12.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game. 40% from the field, 33% from three, and 78% from the free throw line. Not over the moon. Nothing bad for college basketball. Like, it's not horrendous. You can definitely win with that, especially not as your lead option. But I believe what he will truly be in there for is his defense. If you recognize the last name, younger brother of Zakai Ziegler, the Tennessee standout, defensive standout, especially at 5'10". Again, touch on Armani Ziegler a little bit later, more in depth, but I would project him to be the two guard. Zach Smearker, I believe is how you say that. If not, please correct me. The international freshman coming from the ABA league. I'm blanking on the team name, but it's not Mega Basket. It's Kirka. I think KK Kirka, I believe is how you say it. Just under 10 points per game, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists per game. Efficiency is not good, especially from the field. 38% from the field, 33% from three. I've seen those numbers before in college basketball. He shot 82% from the free throw line. Not overly concerned. Slight concern. Causes a question, but not overly concerned. 0.7 steal, 0.4 blocks. Only 15 games played. They might still be in season, so that could be part of it. I would doubt it, though. But he's only played 15 games. I don't think he's still over there. Right around 23 minutes per game. At their starting four, I believe it's going to be another small forward, Andriza Bukamirovic from UT Martin. He is one heck of a defender. And truth is, like, based on last year's production alone, I guess they're second or third leading scorer. Right around 14 points per game. He would be their third technical leading scorer. So I forgot about Brandon Benjamin, who, again, we'll touch on. keep getting ahead of myself. 13.8 points per game for Bukmirovic, 7.8 rebounds. Only listed at 6'7", and looks small, but very active defensively. Led the entire Ohio Valley Conference in defensive win shares and overall win shares. So a very productive player. I think he will play there for. And at center, this is where I went back and forth the most. Because truthfully, I don't love any option they really have at center. I'm going with Brandon Benjamin. I believe is who I would project to be the starter. 14.2 points, 10.4 rebounds per game at Fairfield last year. More importantly, he averaged 1.6 blocks per game, which he is only 6'8", somewhere between 210 and 235. I'm hoping and putting him in here airing on the side of 235. But I do think he just is the best big on Boston College. He may be undersized, but he is truly the best player in my opinion. Now, some people have debated starting in place of that. Ali Tukara from Arkansas State. Numbers are not good. Raw numbers aren't good. 4.3 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game. And only says 1 block a game for being a 7-footer. He only played like 18 minutes a game, so it's not like he was their starter, but he did lead the team overall in blocks. He absolutely could start if you trust that the raw potential and you trust your development. Absolutely could be the starter. Or Luke Hunger, the former Northwestern and George Washington player. Again, raw production's not there for my liking. He is a bit bigger, but I'm going with Brandon Benjamin as my starter. The other big one that needs to be considered is Jacob Furphy. Another really tough one because he's projected to be fantastic shooter. You can put him on the wing, put him at the 2 or the 3. I like Smirker a tiny bit more right now, maybe because I have that not ideal taste of Furphy not playing for UConn. Only playing like 35 minutes, I think is what it was. So there's just that intrigue with Smirker that could be keeping me in on him. Absolutely could see that one flipped. Furphy could absolutely start for Ziegler, and you're running a longer lineup with Smirker, Furphy, and Bukmirovic. I think he would be a fantastic 6-man. He also would be a terrific starter if Luke Murray just wanted to full-on trust him, commit to him from transferring him from UConn to Boston College. And the final one I somewhat considered, not really, if Murray wanted to go with a more offensive option, Ernest Shelton at the 2 guard in place of Ziegler. I think Ziegler will stay in there for the defense. Ernest Shelton will be a terrific 6-man for Boston College. That's my projected starting lineup. I will touch more in depth on them here in a second and how I think it'll go. But first, I do want to touch on the coaches. And yes, I mean coaches plural, so if you don't want to learn about Boston College assistant coaches, skip right ahead. But Luke Murray, probably the most hyped up first-year head coach this year. I mean, it's well-deserved. He has been the offensive guy for UConn, and me as a coach, I would love to be able to copy what UConn does on offense. It is ridiculous, and I love it. It is my favorite offense to watch, to learn from, and he is at least credited with being one of the biggest reasons for that. Dan Hurley has even said, quote, Boston College is about to have a renaissance in basketball, and a lot of that is due to this offense that Luke Murray will be bringing from UConn to Boston College. He has started off a little controversial with some of the firings. The PA announcer, Boston College is saying he didn't have a hand in that. The PA announcer saying he is, but it has definitely been a lot of talk about him just cleaning house, which deserved, probably. I mean, they just haven't had a good season in long enough, so I don't blame him for cleaning house. I think if he did in fact have a hand with the PA announcer, I've got a bit more of an issue there. But yeah, Earl Grant did not leave behind a desirable spot. This is probably one of the least. I don't know the exact word I'm trying to put in here, but this is one of the worst jobs in the ACC. I mean, it's a private school, money's not there, which is a little weird, but the success hasn't been there in basketball to prove that you need to fund it. Whereas you compare to the rest of the ACC, which is primarily a basketball conference. So very easy for Boston College to be left behind in the NIL department, probably on the lower end, if not the lowest, in the ACC. And and again, they just haven't been successful. Earl Grant in 5 years went 72-92. His best season was in 2023-2024. They were 20-16. That was his best year, with an 8-12 conference record. Every year outside of that year was a losing season for Boston College. They haven't had a winning record since 2010-2011. They haven't made the NCAA tournament since 2008-2009. And sorry, they haven't had a winning conference record. I don't know if I blanked over that, but they haven't had a winning conference record since 2010-2011. They haven't made the NCAA tournament since 2008-2009. And then they haven't finished the season ranked since 2005-2006, when they did finish 7th, where they're coached by Al Skinner, and their best players were Jared Dudley and Craig Smith, who did both make the NBA. Jared Dudley, again, probably the more famous of the two, but hey, call me lack of ball knowledge for that one. But yeah, it's just a bad situation. Almost nowhere else in the ACC can you find a team that has struggled as much as Boston College has since 2000s. Al Skinner had a couple very good teams in there, but really since then it has been disasterful. But just going to touch on a couple of their assistant coaches here. Tim O'Toole is one of the associate head coaches, was the head coach of Fairfield from 1998 to 2006. Had a losing record overall, 112 and 120, but he did have a winning conference record. So there's at least that to him. Went 78 and 66 in conference for 54.2% win percentage. He did spend the last 9 seasons with Pittsburgh with Jeff Capel, where he there is credited with a lot of front court development, which, as touched on, will be very useful for Boston College, with a lot of bigs that I just don't fully see that being there right now. So should hopefully be very beneficial to Boston College. Kyle Griffin is another assistant, has yet to be a head coach, but he is associate head coach before, last 3 years at Florida Gulf Coast. He's been there 4 total years. Before that, he was at LaSalle, where he was an associate head coach for 2 of those years. He is also credited with being more of a front court developer. So again, going to be very beneficial for Boston College. Matthew Johnson spent 1 year at Princeton, and then is 6 at UConn, where met Luke Murray, and then followed him to Boston College. He has been one of the lead recruiters in his career, but is, at least in his bio, name dropped Stephon Castle in there as one of the ones he really worked with and recruited to UConn, and it did a lot of work with there. So there's a backcourt player for you. And the last one we'll touch on is Brendan Strawn. He's spent the last 3 years at Syracuse, but has been a bit busy, a bit active. He started his coaching career at Loyola Maryland for 1 year, where they improved drastically, then went to St. Joe's for 3 years, got better, and then to George Washington for 1 year, where, importantly, they had one of the best offenses in the Big East. Geez, not A10, golly. Reading comprehension through the roof. One of the best offenses in the A10 at George Washington that year, and he is credited with being at most of those stops at least one of the lead offensive coordinators, if not the guy, and as well as one of the head recruiters. So definitely a very nice addition there to Luke Murray's staff. Okay, welcome back from the assistant coaches if you skipped ahead. I think if things are to go right for Boston College this year, there are 3 things. At least offense. I got 6 potential things. 3 on offense, 3 on defense that I want to talk about. So if things are going right offensively, Option one is they are able to roughly replicate this UConn offense. The UConn's offense requires the 5 people on the court to be the 5 most cerebral players on the court for the entire 30 seconds of the offense possession, or you get the gist. The amount of reading and reacting, the quick decisions, the causing mismatches is so intricate. It is more intricate than almost any other college offense I have watched. And if you got more intricate ones, please send me recommendations. I love watching it. So this UConn offense is going to be so hard to replicate. But Luke Murray and Boston College is full of upperclassmen. So you would hope they can read and react a little bit quicker. I don't believe any of them have run an offense quite like this. A part of me for not watching all of these mid-major conferences in depth. I've watched part of games, but I have not watched and broken down Montana's offense or UT Martin's offense. Oh, I did a little bit of UT Martin's offense. But, yeah, it's like they could be, and this could fit absolutely perfectly, but this is going to be hard. But if they're going to be successful, they're going to be able to replicate this, because I do think they do have a lot of this. I said do a lot in there. A lot of the skill sets of these players do fit a read and react style offense, because Money Williams is going to cause a lot of issues for a defense. And then you can pair him, though the number's not fully there, 3 guys around him that have dang good looking shots at all times, whether it is those other starting 3 and your big being Brandon Benjamin in this starter scenario. But if you're pairing him with Ziegler, Smeeker, and Bukmirovic, they all look like pretty good jump shots, in my opinion. But if you put Furphy in there, if you put Ernest Shelton in there, if you put, I have his name written down. Give me a second. Blanking on it. It's the Campbell transfer. Geez. I apologize. I really should have had this written down. Transfer from Campbell. Colby Duggan. Charleston transfer. Apologies. Colby Duggan, coming off an injury, was better his sophomore season than his junior season, but again, junior season got cut short, but I don't know if he was fully going to reach the numbers he did his sophomore year. But in his sophomore year, was a pretty dang good 3-point shooter. He'll be in there a lot, and he did play for Campbell. There we go. I'm vindicated. But yeah, last year he 29.5% from 3. His freshman year, 35 and 34%. His sophomore year, so solid. I mean, you put these guys around, they're all going to be upperclassmen. Should be able to read and react similarly to UConn does. They won't have the talent that UConn has had the last couple of years, but I am looking forward to watching this offense. Secondly, kind of mentioned it, Money Williams is genuinely that guy. Like that has to. This is probably the most important key to their offense working. Is Money Williams is truly as good as 20 points per game at Montana Money Williams seems to be. He was solid as a freshman. Nothing like these freshman years we just saw with these guards, but had a very good freshman season. 13 points per game, right around 3 assists and 3 rebounds. Very good for a freshman. I don't believe he actually got Freshman of the Year, but was good. I mean, he only played 12 games because he hurt his foot. That's right. He had good games as a freshman. In his very first ever college game, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Then against Oregon, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. And then his career best at the time, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. But yeah, he hurt his foot against UC Davis. Couldn't play the rest of the year. So then his sophomore year comes around, and this is where I think he truly burst onto the scene. Even though the numbers are truthfully about the same. In fact, his points per game dropped All his numbers dropped. His points per game dropped to 13.2. His rebounds dropped. His assists dropped. His steals went up and his blocks went up, but his offensive numbers dropped. However, he got to play at Tennessee, and whether it was the only game on, like I remember my family was watching it. We were over at my aunt and uncle's house. It was on. Wasn't a great game, but Monty Williams scored 30 of Montana's 57 points on 8 of 15 from the field. Was dominant. He was very clearly Montana's best player. Was very honestly one of the best players on the court, if not the best. I can't truly remember who Tennessee had playing, but I do remember watching Monty Williams that game, so I'm going to go ahead and say he was the best player in the game. He then, in his very next game against Utah State, put up 25 points, so he kind of just exploded onto the scene. Cooled off, as I mentioned, his points per game numbers decreased below his freshman and everything, but he did lead Montana to a regular season and tournament championship, which means they got to go to the NCAA tournament. But they did lose to Wisconsin 66-85 in the first round. But very good year. Then, as a junior, I think some people anticipated him transferring. I mean, big name. You made the NCAA tournament. Your first name is money. Like, you could probably get almost any NIL deal you wanted. Decided to stay at Montana, where he then just decided to average 24 and 4.5. This included 7 30-point games and a 40-point game in the first round of the Big Sky Conference tournament. They did end up losing to Idaho and not making it back to the NCAA tournament, and honestly having a little bit of a lackluster conference season. But as a whole, with Montana, he was a 2-time Big Sky player, 2-time All-Big Sky tournament, 6th Man of the Year, and then was the 2025-2026 Big Sky player of the tournament. Despite them not making it, winning the whole thing, he was just that good. I think he had like a 40, a 35, and a 28-point game or whatever in the conference tournament. It was ridiculous. So a lot, pretty much, for Boston College to work, Monty Williams needs to be Monty Williams. Like he needs to be maybe not 20 points per game. But he does genuinely, I think, need to sit around 15 to 18 points per game in order for this offense to really, truly work. If he can hit 20 points per game, incredible. Like, Boston College is going to be successful and making a push to the NCAA tournament. If he's not, I think they'll still be really good, but that does kind of limit their ceiling a bit. But I think he has the body to be a Power 5 point guard. 6'4", 200-some pounds, like, big dude. He should not, theoretically, struggle with the size increase. So, putting him at point guard, I do genuinely think this is going to be such a different offense from him, going from Montana, where he had the ball. Like, it did not leave his hands, to this Luke Murray offense, where he will probably be running off of screens and getting different looks than he would have at Montana. So I'm really excited to see, but a lot of it is going to rely on him being that guy, drawing gravity, giving his shooters better looks. And on that, the third key is they need to be able to hit their threes. Mentioned it briefly earlier. The percentages aren't necessarily there on their off-ball guards and their wings. Which, I mean, they're sitting right around average, right around anywhere from 34 to 35%, somewhere in there. Some of them 33, actually. So 33 to 35%. That's not ideal. I think you're going to need to have somebody step up. Jacob Furphy could absolutely be that guy. He was touted, at least from what I remember, being one of the best shooters in last year's freshman class, and he absolutely could be the one that spaces it out to how it needs to be spaced. Smearker is not a shooter. He's one of the ones in the 33% shooting range, so I could absolutely, if Furphy's hitting 37, 38, upwards of 40% of his threes, easily starting job's his, because they do need that set, at least one guy to be able to hit those threes. Ernest Shelton is another one who I think is just people are just going to enjoy watching. When he was at Merrimack last year, he averaged 11 shots a game, 11 and a half shots a game. 8.5 of them were threes. So I was like, I think he fits this traditional six-man role perfectly. Like he's just going to go out there and shoot. It doesn't matter if he's contested, if he's open, off the dribble, off the catch. It doesn't matter. He's pulling. And I truly do think those are the two biggest X factors. Because Shelton's numbers attempts-wise are probably going to decrease. So if he ends up shooting 5 a game, which is almost cut in half from where it was, but they're better looks. They're off of Money Williams' gravitational kickouts. I think his percentage could absolutely increase because it was only around 34.5%, 34.6, I think is what it was. So I think he could drastically space it out and give them another offensive option, or he might even be their guard off the bench to take over the dribbling and ball handling, which might get some ugly shots off of that, but they do need somebody else to be able to take those shots. Ziegler, Smearker, Smearker I mentioned in the 33%, Ziegler right around 34%. Same with Bukmirovic. None of them shot. Again, it's not horrible, but I wouldn't sit there and like, yeah, that's a knockdown shooter. Yeah, that's a catch and shoot guy. That's one of the ones. But that's going to be a lot of their job. Ziegler specifically. I mean, he might be handling the point when Money Williams isn't in there, but with Money Williams in there, his job is almost exclusively catch and shoot. Smearker and Bukmirovic are both actually really good slashers attacking off the rim, so that can be a lot of fun. But they are going to need to hit their threes. They may only be taking for maybe 5 a game, but they absolutely need to be hitting them when they have them. Defensively, if things are going well, number one, they're able to protect the rim. Whether that is Tunkara, Brandon Benjamin, and maybe not rim protection, but Luke Hunger, bigger body. And you have Smearker and Bukmirovic, who almost, like Bukmirovic, 0.9 blocks per game, 1 block per game from a 6'7" wing can absolutely, in a more team defense setting, could end up being 1.1, 1.2 blocks per game. Could help out if Luke Hunger is the guy they end up going with. Smearker, in just 20-something minutes, averaged half a block a game. So that could be somewhere, again, from the wing. Could be utilizing that athleticism there. Tunkara and Benjamin do have potential as rim protectors. Tunkara led Arkansas State in total blocks. Benjamin led Fairfield in blocks per game. Question marks on both of them. I don't know if Tunkara is good enough offensively to justify playing him defensively, and Brandon Benjamin is a little undersized, but if he is more physical, then he is absolutely going to be the guy there for the rim protection. But they need to have that figured out come ACC time if they are going to be successful, because as a whole, I think it's a down year for centers in the ACC. It's not what it was even last year, with Johan Grunlow being one of the more physically dominating. Duke has a couple bigs, Ngangba, Boomjay, Cameron Williams, a couple bigs that they're going to have to worry about. But as a whole, Marcise Bonder from Florida State would be another one. But as a whole, it is a little bit down, so they can probably get away, and that's why I'm going to go with Brandon Benjamin probably being the starter. Just because offensively, it's just not where it has been in the past in the ACC. So, but I do think if their defense is successful, or if Boston College is successful, they at least figured that out to a point. And part of it might go key number 2 is like they're playing good team defense. I don't necessarily overly trust any of them on a one-on-one setting. Bukmirovic and Ziegler would be the only two. But as a whole, Smearker, good athlete. I need to see it. Money Williams is not really going to be that defender. And then I kind of went over the question marks on their bigs. Colby Duggan's not really that big. He's about 6'7", 210-pound wing. Not as, I think he could be a good team defender. He can play the gaps really well. Not an isolation defender. Ernest Shelton is not an isolation defender. Jacob Furphy is probably not. Could be wrong. Only seen him play 35 minutes, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, I think they figured out the team defense, the cutting off the gaps, the driving lanes, how to recover off of that. Because they do have the intelligence of Ziegler, Bukmirovic. Monty Williams is a very intelligent basketball player. Smirker is an intelligent basketball player. They can figure these rotations out. Duggan's a very intelligent basketball player. Can figure those out. So if they can get that rotation down, those help when to stunt, when not to, when to help, when not to, then that is going to be a massive key. But I do think the biggest one, in my opinion, and I am a more guard-centered watcher and coach of basketball, that Armani Ziegler is legit. I think you need him to be that guard stopper because, as mentioned, the ACC is not as big heavy. It is still guard. Like, there is an insanely talented group of guards in the ACC. So I do think maybe Bukmirovic is your better defender. You need Armani Ziegler to be that guy. Has yet to be awarded with any all-conference defensive honors, but the Metro Atlantic did not do defensive teams, to my knowledge. His freshman and sophomore year, he absolutely would have made it his sophomore year. Freshman year is a little iffier, but I do think he would have. He did not make the MAC all-defensive team, but he did average 1.4 steals per game and 0.3 blocks per game at Ball State, so maybe the overall success wasn't there. Though as a sophomore at St. Peter's, 1.6 points per game, 0.3 blocks per game. He did average half a block per game as a freshman at St. Peter's. I mean, he is just supposed to come in and be your defensive stopper. Like, that is, on paper, in theory, whatever words you want to use, that is why he's going to be playing for Boston College, as he is that defensive stopper. No disrespect to his offensive game. He has a bit of an offensive game. No disrespect to it. That's what he's supposed to be doing better than everybody else on Boston College's roster, is being that defensive stopper at the guard position. As mentioned, younger brother Zakai Ziegler, who, despite only being 5'10", 4 SEC all-defensive teams, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Armani can absolutely learn from him, has worked with him a lot, can absolutely, if he is told by Luke Murray, by whoever the defense coordinator is, which you think I would have known, but I didn't ever see that mentioned, will be able to be at least a good defensive on-ball stopper. But I do think Boston College needs him to be that guy, make an all-ACC defensive team. I think that's what they're going to need if they're truly going to be successful defensively. Now, flipping it over to the negatives, which don't always love to do, but can't just speak good about a team. Like, I can't just be overly bullish on a team without at least talking a little bit about where things could go wrong. And offensively, I titled this in my notes, the mid-major transfers don't transfer. But a lot of this is just their overall unknown. I'm going to start with the mid-majors. 9 mid-major transfers. And while it is highly unlikely that none of them hit, it is not out of the realm of possibility that they all don't hit to the level that they were supposed to. That Monty Williams, back to his freshman sophomore numbers of 13 points per game, Armani Ziegler, 10 points, not that lockdown defender. Smirker takes longer to develop to the college basketball game than you would have thought. Jacob Furphy doesn't hit his shots. It's not used to still playing that ACC high-level competition, going from 35 minutes total to potentially being a starter. I know he's not a mid-major guy, but like there is this potential that they don't hit the expectations and what Boston College and Luke Murray is expecting them to do. I really hope that they do, but I have seen there's been so many transfers that I've loved coming from mid-major programs going up to, and they just don't hit. So that's going to be a big part of it, because they will also need people to step up. Because even if what feels like the most surefire thing, that Money Williams will at least be their leading scorer, when you go and play these other ACC teams, and I have a list of a couple guards right here that are just good, straight up good defenders, can absolutely stop or at least slow down Money Williams. Like Duke's got 3 of them: Caleb Foster, Caden Boozer, and Dame Sarr. Can absolutely, at worst, slow down, if not completely neutralize Money Williams. Anthony Robinson at FSU, Deshaun Montgomery at Louisville, Braden Smith at Notre Dame, and then a couple others: David Terrell, Garway Dual, and Chance Mallory. Might be more on the slowing him down side than full on shutting him down, but still, you're going to need these guys. Ernest Shelton, you're going to need Armani Ziegler to step off the offense production. Smearker needs to be able to produce when Money Williams is being slowed down or even stopped. You're going to need production from your bigs, coming from Fairfield and only 4 points a game at Arkansas State, or under 10 points a game at George Washington if you're Luke Hunger. Colby Duggan bouncing back from what was not a good junior season. So like there's just so many question marks. There's just so little for sure on this team. You can watch as much high school film. It's not promised. So I mean, I'm cheering for him, but there is a genuine concern with that makes their ceiling so high and their floor pretty dang low, with that unknown. The second one, their 3 balls just don't fall. I mean, it's as simple as that. Only 2 of the players I would say were volume shooters, at least on their position based. Ernest Shelton, I mentioned him earlier, being one of them. 8 threes a game is pretty ridiculous, especially when you're only taking 11.5 shots. And the other one being Colby Duggan a little bit, at least his sophomore season when he was shooting 5 threes a game. They're going to need those 2 to hit, and if they're not, it's going to be rough. If Brkmirovic is not hitting, if Smearker's not hitting, if Furphy is not what he was supposed to be from 3, it's not going to give them the space for Money Williams to operate, because he does like to attack the basket. Brkmirovic and Smearker as slashers and attackers is not going to give them the space. So they absolutely need the 3 balls to fall. Defensively, I mean, it is a lot of the flipped version of what would work. Specifically, their bigs just aren't good enough. Maybe there's a couple guys in the ACC that I'm just underrating, that they end up being dominant, and just Brandon Benjamin isn't big enough, and Tunkara is just not good enough, or not experienced enough to be able to stop these guys. They can get a block, but it's just not going to slow down these bigs in the ACC. And they just don't have a legit stopper. Bukmirovic benefited from a weaker OVC, and Ziegler from the Metro Atlantic and the Mid-American. Supposed to be defensive guys aren't. Like, that's just... Those are the ways that I could see their offense and defense going wrong. Now, as for what I overall am projecting, I think they're going to be good. I love all these pieces. I think they're going to be competitive. I don't know for sure how many wins it translates to in the ACC, because the ACC is kind of a mess right now. So I'm not quite through my breakdown of all of them. I've done a rough but a thorough breakdown, and already I've only done 12 of them. There's about 7 or 8 teams that I could interchange with each other. So it's an absolute mess. So many question marks. Based on their current published out-of-conference schedule, there's 2 games still to be announced, but they have 12 confirmed out-of-conference games. 10 of them, I think, should be no issues. You're playing Wagner, UMass, Maryland Eastern Shore, New Hampshire, Harvard, NJIT, UMass Lowell, Northeastern, New Haven, and Stonehill. Should not cause any problems for Boston College, I hope. The other 2 games, I'm excited for. I think they're going to be dang good games. You got Georgia and George Washington. I think Money Williams in those games genuinely could be the best player. Again, if things go right, Blue Cane, no disrespect to him. George Washington, in my opinion, doesn't have the top end guy of Money Williams. But they do have a couple, like Amari Witherspoon would probably be their guy. I'm taking Money Williams over both Blue Cane and Amari Witherspoon, at least as of this moment. But Georgia, coming off an NCAA tournament appearance, keep their 3 best players. Blue Cane, Marcus Millender, and Cannon Catchings. Absolutely could be a dangerous team. Like, they're probably going to be in a better groove than Boston College at the time they're playing. So that one's, that one's going to be a bit tough. And then George Washington, I like Chris Caputo. They do have an influx of transfers, almost as much as Boston College does. But not saying I fully believe in what I'm about to say. They have 6 high major transfers, which is 5 more high major transfers than Boston College has, and Boston College's high major transfer only played 35 minutes. 2 of George Washington's high major transfers did also start in over 50% of their team's games, Amari Witherspoon and Felix Casares. Not saying that directly translates to anything. Just stating it out there. It's going to be a tough game. Like, you can't just see George Washington and all their mid-major. We got them now. We got Luke Murray. We're good. Because they also have Terrence Arsenault, who played a lot of meaningful minutes at Houston and NC State last year. Truthfully, there are other guys I'm not necessarily big on. Dylan James, Andrija Vukovic, Ryder Frost, not overly big on. No disrespect intended, but in terms of my opinions on Terrence Arsenault, Amari Witherspoon, and Felix Casares, I tend to like them a little bit better. But George Washington's going to be competitive. So, in terms of the ACC as a whole, I think they'll be competitive and could absolutely upset some of the top teams. Not going to go out and say they'll beat Duke. Could beat Miami. Could beat North Carolina. Could beat even Virginia, who I rate really highly. I could go out there and beat Louisville. I'm not going to necessarily predict that for them. But, yeah, I think as a whole, I'll have them towards the middle of the ACC. I will keep a live updated standings tracker as I go through this. If you just kind of want to wait when I do the whole ACC preview, they'll all be there. But I would roughly predict that I'll have Boston College around that 10, 11, 12, 13 range, somewhere in there. Because I do really like their mid-major pieces. I love them a lot, and I want them to be successful. I want this team to be good. So I'll probably rank them higher than maybe I should. But yeah, that is my breakdown on Boston College. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe. I promise these will get more polished the more I do them. So if you believe in the process, like, subscribe. See y'all later. Adios.